everybody doing? What I like to do real quick is go around the room and basically, does anybody have any questions so I can address them? That I'll be talking about all your questions and everything. I want to make sure I address your guys' needs and your concerns of what's going on in California. So does anybody have anything that they want to talk about right away?
You get elected, you're going to have to clean house. Who are you going to pick for Secretary of State?
So the question is, when you get elected, you have to clean house. Who are you going to pick for Secretary of State? That's a very interesting question because there's a lot of candidates out there that can fill that role. And I actually have somebody in mind, but I won't be talking to that person until the middle of the month. So I don't want to lay that out until I actually have that conversation. But, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Does everybody know that the Secretary of State can clean up the voter law and all that stuff?
So we'll talk about what the Secretary of State right now is very important. And so is the Attorney General. Does anybody know why? Why are those two jobs so important right now?
The Attorney General enforces the law.
Okay. And the Secretary of State, what do? They
run the voting system.
So one thing that a lot of people don't know is this. I get elected, 10 minutes later you're going to have a new Secretary of State and you're going to have a new Attorney General. And everybody looks puzzled. Why? They're both appointed. Neither one of those two people that are doing those jobs right now are voted in by the California people, which means they work for the governor of California right now, not technically for the state. In 2022, both of those jobs come up for bid, so they have to get reelected. Till then, the governor has the right to reappoint somebody else. So when I talk about the recall and why it's so important, this is the only time in history that you can have 3 of the top Republican seats in 10 minutes. If you get the right Republican there. And I say that with all due respect to all the rhinos out there. We don't have enough grass to feed you. But what we're going to do is this. I got told, because I told my plan to somebody else, and he said, you just committed suicide. I said, the state of California is already dying. What's the difference of one more? So ideally is this. We talk about the recall a lot, and people say, what's going on with the recall? Well, the recall just started. The signatures was just the beginning phase of a recall. Right now, we all need to keep educating our friends and our neighbors on why we're recalling Gavin Newsom. How many of you guys heard June 15th, we're going to reopen California, everything's going to go back to normal? What happens between June and September? Everybody forgets about the shutdowns. Everybody forgets about losing their job. Everybody forget about their parents dying in old people's homes because they put sicker people in there, and the state of California is the only one that didn't get it with the program saying, hey, what's going on here? Exactly what happened in New York happened in California. Everybody knows about New York, but nobody wants to talk about California. Everything that's happening in the border in Texas is happening in the border of California. How many of our elected officials been to the border of California? None. How many candidates running for office have been there? None. Why? Because one of the candidates, this is his own backyard. It looks pretty bad if the problems in your own backyard that you haven't taken care of before. So you want to go to another state, put the eye on somebody else. If that's the problem with our career politicians, and that's the problem with California right now. There's no accountability, and everybody wants to pass the buck. Well, you know, California's economy is bad. Yeah, but have you seen New York? People are leaving New York right now. I don't care what's going on in New York. I live in California, and it's time that somebody actually takes California and California taxpayers as our #1 priority. I say this, you guys can go on my website, DiegoMartinezForGovernor.com. You guys can go on my Facebook, Diego Martinez for Governor Unofficial, because Facebook won't let me put official in there. Might be because the GOP doesn't like me. I don't know. But my solution is this. And my special interest group is the California taxpayer. They pay you a salary to do a job. You need to go in there and do your job. When your job's over, you need to go home. You don't need to try to run for a different office. You don't need to try to do anything else unless there's a major need. There should be term limits on everybody. Nobody should be a career politician. We have one of the greatest presidents in the world. And we didn't appreciate the man. The Republicans themselves turned their back on him. It hurt our economy. How many people heard this before? Joe Biden is pro-union. Yeah, he's the only one that just destroyed, how many union jobs? 7,000? Because of the pin. So one thing's what they say, the other thing's what they do. And that's what we get. How many of your guys' politicians, how many of your mayors, how many of your elected officials have gone and said, open up my state, open up my city, open up, open up, open up? None of them. But it's funny, right now when they need your money, when they need your vote, oh, I'm for opening up schools. Well, why didn't you do it while you were the mayor of the city? Why is your city the worst one out of everybody? You got one of the biggest cities around, yet you didn't do nothing for them. Oh, well, the governor said, oh, let me get this straight. You couldn't stand up to the governor. Now you expect me to stand, for you to stand up for the California people against the president? That's the problem with career politicians. They have a track record. And it's never very good for the California people. We talked about AB 5. Everybody knows AB 5? Subcontractors. There was a assemblyman who was up and down California just screaming, AB 5 is not just. AB 5 is not just. Well, what happened to SB 145? Is that better? Because that was going around the same time, and that assemblyman never said one word about SB 145. Everybody know what SB 145 is? It allows an adult to have sex with somebody who's 10 years younger than them. And now it's up to the discretion of the judge whether they get to slap in the wrist or whether they get to be a registered sex offender for the rest of their lives. Why is that important? It's really important because if you guys ever know about Megan's List, have those people get taken off that list right now because of this new law that just passed. So you will no longer know who's a sex offender in your neighborhood. Our kids aren't safe. 10 years. A 14-year-old boy with a 4-year-old girl, that 10 years difference. Why am I so upset about that? Because we had an assemblyman go and parade up and down California for AB 5 when he knew that Lyft and Uber lawyers were going to fix that problem because it was unconstitutional because it's coming up to bid. Prop 22 is what it was on the ballot. Where was his backbone to stand up and let people know about the sex offender law that was coming through? Yeah, he wants us to go buy his book now because, well, he took a 6-month vacation that we paid for. We paid because he got paid. He decided to write a book during that, and now he wants to insult us by coming and wanting us to buy our book. Well, buddy, we already paid for the book. We should get it for free. I mean, we gave you 6 months at home to write the book. You should be giving us the book. It's sad when you watch congressmen, assemblymen, I will get to you just in a second, write books. Well, they're getting paid by us every day. And then they want us to buy the books. This young lady here has a question.
I'm sorry, I don't know which assemblyman you're talking about.
And I'm not going to say. Because it's not right, and I'm not going to put anybody down because that's not what I'm about. I'm just bringing the facts, what's going on and what's happening in the state. We, as California taxpayers, have got to get off this. This guy's been doing this for a long time. This guy's a career politician. Oh, the President of the United States backed that guy. Well, why don't you look back a couple more years where, how many of you guys know who Mitt Romney is? I'll say that.
Yeah.
How many of you guys think he's a great Republican? He's probably the biggest rhino that we have in office. He's probably a Democrat, really. Well, this certain person used to work for Mitt Romney. This certain person's been a career politician since he got out of the Army. But we're sitting here saying enough with career politicians. Yeah, we keep hiring them. Last year, we watched the worst presidential election ever. Voter integrity was gone. So how do we fix that in California? The Secretary of State, the person who I'm going to appoint to Secretary of State, will have 1 year to fix that. So by 2022, we will have voter ID. I don't care if the National Baseball League doesn't want to do business in California. Really, they're overpaid anyways, and they should stay out of politics. because they will no longer get funding from the state of California to rebuild their stadiums. Because if they want to get in politics, they can go wherever they want to a blue state. Because guess what? Well, politics has absolutely nothing to do with professional sports. They need to play their game. They need to respect our flag, respect our laws, and do their job. That's what they need. Worst part is, I'm a big St. Louis Cardinal fan. I'm sure going to miss those games. Because I will not spend one more dollar on any professional sport on guys who are multi-millionaires and take a knee for the freedom that my family has fought for each and every single one of us. This isn't about color. This isn't about race. This isn't about sex gender. This is about being proud to be Americans and to be in the greatest country in the world that people are spitting at.
I want to take a moment and play the devil's advocate with you. This lady just asked for you to name names, and you don't want to do that. If you're going to get the conservative vote, you better start naming names. Conservatives don't care about the etiquette of politics anymore.
Well, on that note, is why are we going to publicize their names and just throw it out there? You know what? I don't care about their names. I want to care about what they're doing.
Okay, I'm just throwing this out there. Okay.
I get why you're saying it,
Yeah.
and it's really easy to say the guy's name. But if you watch Facebook, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you look at AB5, name will pop up in 2 seconds.
That's just an opinion that I'm giving here because of my experience watching how this stuff plays out. Which leads into my next question. How are you going to handle when they start using your race against you?
Oh, I'm Hispanic. You know what? We 70% of California. It's time that we take our seat at the damn dinner table.
I mean, we've seen this with African Americans. They go conservative, and all of a sudden, everybody's against them. They're using that, you know, their Uncle Toms or this, that, and the other. I'm just wondering how you, because if you start getting traction, which I expect you to do, and you start getting your name in there, and you come across their radar, they're coming after you. They don't play nice, and they're gonna try to spin you into something that you're not.
Well,
I'm just curious.
Like this. Let's see. I'm an immigrant. Dirt poor. That's how I grew up.
Well,
I grew up in Stockton. I didn't go to college.
the general narrative is that you would be a traitor to your race. That's what they're going to
that is very good said. Unfortunately, more Hispanics are Republicans than they are Democrats. They just don't know it.
Exactly.
Okay? So the problem is, nobody takes the time to educate on what the Hispanic race is. Porque la gente latina viene acá para trabajar, para luchar y para salir adelante. No venimos acá para que nos pongan como mantenidos. And unfortunately, I'll say that in English now, the Hispanic people come here to work for a better future, for a better living. They leave their families behind. They get raped on the way here. You don't even have a clue what happens to those people that are coming here. And that's why I feel for those 30,000 kids that have been sodomized that are sitting in that camp right there that our president wasn't supposed to have and that doesn't exist. Here's the problem. Hispanic people, we're hardworking people. We didn't come here for a handout, and I'm sick and tired of people putting a bullseye like that's all we're here to do to be maintained off the system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to educate the Hispanics. If you speak Spanish, we all need to unite for once, and we need to come to the dinner table together and put our place in U.S. history and in California. There has never been an elected Hispanic governor in the state of California. Now, somebody out there is going to fact check me. I'll help you. 1875, the governor of California decided to go be a senator. The lieutenant governor was Mexican. So he was governor for 9 months. The next election came down, and he got out of the race because they told him he wouldn't win. So he stepped down back to being lieutenant governor. Well, we're in 2021. I'm pretty set where I'm at, and I'm pretty firm on where I stand. And I will not be bought off. I will not be tossed off. And one thing I'm going to do that no Republican or anybody has done yet in this party in California. When I get elected, I got a whole year to go recruit a team of assemblymen and California senators to balance the books. I will go out there and I'm going to go and I'm going to campaign with every single Republican who makes the primary to make sure that the California people know that I need their help to change California. One man can't do it, but united, we can conquer the world. Do you want to bring jobs back to California? Give me the assemblymen that I need to help us pass the laws, because the governor of California does not pass laws, mandates, or anything like that. We oversee the state for a better future, but the laws have to be put out front, and the California people have to know what's coming. Under a Diego Martinez administration, it will be 100% transparency. As we are right now, we will be talking to assemblymen, putting their bills in front of everybody, and we will be recording them, and they'll be live on your television show at home, so you can actually vote and call your assemblyman or senator before we take a vote. Now, we're also going to track those calls. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Why are we going to do that? Not because I really want to keep an eye, but that's how you keep politicians honest. If you have a senator in your district who keeps voting the way that you didn't like, and you're like, hey, 40 of us called you, and there's only 41, why are you still voting no? Well, we're going to display it to everybody. Look, your district, your representative isn't doing what you need him to do. Because politicians, we work for people. We work for the state of California. We work for the California taxpayers. They're the ones who pay our bills. So we need to start taking responsibility for our jobs and for the people who hired us. That's why I don't believe in career politicians. I think that if you've been in politics more than 2 terms, you probably need to go. What's an average job? Most of us work 20 years in a local job and then we get retirement. Politicians should never go over 20 years. And that doesn't mean that you get 1 term for 20 years. That means you keep going and you keep doing your job. I think COVID-19 and Donald J. Trump has woken the American people up. He has shown us that a normal business person can actually run the country and the state. COVID-19 has also shown us that our representation has no backbone. And they don't care about us. They don't care about the normal, everyday taxpayer. Because if they did, and I'm going to talk about our congressmen right now. If our congressmen cared about us, how come they didn't come down to the county council, city hall, and say, open up the state and I'll back you guys to play against the government? How many of them did it? But guess what? In 2 years, in the next year, you're going to see every single one of them come out here. They're going to say, hi, how you guys doing? You guys are great. You guys are in my district. Can I get some money from you and can I get your vote? No, you can't. Because when I asked you to vote and help our president stay in office, you turned your back on him. Which means you turned your back on all of us who voted you in, who voted that president in. These are all true facts. Central Valley, if you're in the Central Valley, if you're in the California Central Valley, the agricultural business, we need to get our water back. We need to be able to provide 80% of the food in the United States again, not 20%. We need our water rights back. We need to quit dumping water into the ocean. And a lot of the problems with the water that people don't talk about is our dams. There's a place in Fresno that the dam only holds up to 100,000 people. Well, if any of you guys know Fresno has outgrown 100,000 people. So what do we need to do? We need to rebuild more dams. We need to stop the train nowhere. Take those billions of dollars that we have wasted on a train that went nowhere. Turn that money into building our dams and reinforcing our agricultural business in California. Because that's revenue that we're losing. We do not need to tax a dairyman for his cow farting. That's a joke. But that's what's going on here in California. Our dairymen are getting taxed, so they're going out of business. Inflation's crazy. Housing's out of control. How are we going to fix housing? Because guess what? We don't have enough houses in California. We don't have low-income housing. But we do have a lot of commercial buildings that are vacant right now. That a lot of COVID-19 has helped people work from home. So what we're going to do is we're going to rezone those, make them into affordable housing, and we're going to help California people actually be California homeowners. And everybody kind of looks at you kind of weird when you say that, because Fannie Mae, those were all programs backed by the government. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get a bank. We're going to get a couple banks and we're going to back them to help low-income families actually be able to afford a mortgage. And what I mean by that is the average rent in the Los Angeles area right now is $2,000 a month. If I go around the room, I guarantee you half of your guys' mortgages are less than $2,000 a month. So if that person can pay rent, why can't he pay a mortgage? Where's your downfall of that? The downfall is that their credit might not be worthy, that they don't have a down payment, but somehow or another they got into that housing. So our idea is to build condos, which is basically apartment complex stacked on top of each other, about 3 high. Get people in there for about a year. Low-income families that can afford about $1,200 a month. Their first year, a portion of that will go towards their down payment. After that, the builder and the bank will back that person to be able to start making their 40-year mortgage on that property, which allows everybody who's renting a place right now to actually be a homeowner. Now, there's some guidelines that we got to look at that, and I have a legislator who's actually looking for all the fine print, because that's his specialty is real estate, to figure out exactly how we can do it and make it legal so that normal, everyday people can live the American dream and own a home. That's a house that you can buy for about $1,200 to $1,400. It's a condo kind of area, but it's a home ownership and it's a step in the right direction, and it's affordable. What does that do? That will deflate a lot of our other rents will start going up right now. Now, not everybody's going to want to live in these places, but they will be able to afford to live in. Our homeless problem got a hand. Somebody told me that the ex-San Diego mayor fixed the problem, and I heard him on PNJ radio out of Fresno. He said, I have reduced the homeless problem by 20%. Well, Kevin, and I'll say your name because everybody knows you, Kevin Faulkner. How many homeless people are there in San Diego? We'll wait because I don't think you know that number. And even if I take a number of 20,000 homeless, which we know is more than that, that's 2,000 people that you have helped. Well, that's kind of hard to say you did that when you only bought 2 hotels, whatever you want to call them. You spent $93.5 million of the taxpayers' money on one, $43 million on another, and let's say the biggest one houses 100 people, so you help 200 out of 20,000. My math isn't that good, but that's not 20%. Right? And that's the problem. Nobody ever fact checks what people say. You want to help the homeless problem? 70% of the homeless people have mental health issues. Let's go back. Let's reverse Ronald Reagan's rule in 1985. Let's open mental health back up. With $93 million, I could have run a mental health facility for 5 years. And the rest of the money that the state gives you to handle the homeless would have kept the person longer. So we open up mental health to get 70% of the homeless off the street. Well, what about the other 30%? You take the old military bases, we get the rest of the homeless, they help us build them into housing. We give them a rehab center for alcohol and drugs, and we help them get stuff back up into life. We need to open up trade schools back in California because they're gone. Our education system's in the toilet, and it's in the toilet because our governor doesn't have a backbone to go and tell our educators to do their damn job, to go back to work. I'm going to take the Ronald Reagan approach to that too. School unions better be back in office before I go back to work. Before I get elected, all the school teachers better be back to work. And the schools union better have them back working and doing a better job. Because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call every single one of them in, and I'm going to ask them to go back to work. And they're going to tell me, no, COVID-19, I'm scared. Great, I accept your resignation. Anybody wants a job as a teacher, we're hiring on Monday. Enough's enough. We have got to start taking a tough line on what we need done here, and our education is number one that we need to do. Our kids are suffering every day, yet illegals can go get face-to-face teaching. They haven't been tested, they haven't been vaccinated, but our school teachers that can't teach my kid can go over there and teach these kids. There's something wrong here. For once in our lives, I'm going to say this, it's time to take California back for the California people, and California people number one. That means we secure our border. The fence for the wall is still there. It's just laying on the ground. Well, we're going to put it up. We are going to secure the border, we're going to close the border. That does not mean that I'm going to deport 10 million people. What that means is that we're going to do a real California immigration reform program for once and for all that needs to get done. No more sanctuary city, no more sanctuary state, no more free nothing. You want something, you come here, you earn it. I'm going to take your free insurance, I'm going to take your free sanctuary state away from you, but I'm going to give you a work permit and an opportunity to prove that you deserve to be in this country and that you deserve to make a living. I'm going to give you something that nobody's ever given you. I'm going to give you the opportunity for self-respect, show self-worth, and be here legally in work your way into a green card. That will also provide us safety, because now we have everybody's name, we can run a background check and make sure they deserve to be here. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I don't like that. That is not the Republican way to go. Well, guess what? The way that's working right now doesn't work. Okay? We get people who come from the other side of the border, whatever country you come from, you get medical, you get money, and you get housing. What's wrong with this program? What about our veterans who just came from war, that are homeless, hungry, no medical? Shouldn't those people come first? If we're going to give something to somebody, shouldn't we give it to the people who sacrificed their life for us to be able to be out here, for me to be actually be able to run for office? Those people deserve more than what they get. Law enforcement, firefighters, California workers, government workers, we're not going to take away CalPERS. We're going to revamp CalPERS because it needs to be reworked. The state will no longer use it as a piggy bank, but it will use it for what it's intended, for your retirement. Los Angeles County defunded the police by $32 million, I believe is what they said. Well, those programs are going to go away. We're not going to defund anything. We're actually going to help each sheriff and police chief hire the right people. And what I mean by the right people, what are some of the problems that we hear every day in the media? We need what? Mental health workers? We need social workers to go out there, so we need to defund the police so we can get these folks in there, the money that we're giving our police department, right? A lot of our police officers have BAs, AAs. Guess what? Why don't we go recruit the person fit for the job? You have a drug enforcement unit, you have a car theft unit, you have a burglary unit, you have a special victims unit. Well, why don't we have a mental health unit where you actually go out and you go to these colleges that these kids are graduating from, and we recruit the right person to be a police officer that has a mental health background, a degree. That solves both problems. We have the officers on the ground that we need, and we have the people who are capable to deal with mental health and social issues to address the issues before. Accountability is big, but we need to start with the media. Medias have rights, they have licenses, and they're protected by the First Amendment. Yeah, they're trying to take our First Amendment away. So what we need to do, we need to address their licensing to be impartial to what they tell the news. One thing is that you're a reporter, and the other thing is that you're a, what do they call these people that sit there and blab their mouth? Specialist, analyst. Well, instead of being that, be a reporter, report the news both ways. Tell the truth for a little bit. You cannot go to a crime scene and say somebody killed somebody when it didn't really happen. I'll take a case back in St. Louis, the Brown case. They destroyed Flint. They sat there and they destroyed the whole town. They looted it. Black Lives Matter got going. They rioted. And when the outcome came out, nobody ever heard that the cop got shot in his car with his own gun. Then Mr. Brown reached in there and shot him. So was he justified shooting him? Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, I like the way that he shot him in the back? Probably not. But you gotta know all the facts before you go out and you terrorize a state, a city, a town. This isn't about color, it isn't about race. We're gonna do away with racism. And the way you first start doing away with it, you take racism off applications, off college applications, off anything. I don't care what your race or your sex is. Then you cannot get discriminated. Now you're actually going to earn your way to that job. You're actually going to earn your way to that interview. How many of us have been passed up because we're not the right gender? Because status quo didn't say it? That's a problem that we have here and we need to fix it. Racism will continue, but it's funny how racism starts in our own race. Yeah, I'm Hispanic and I'll say it. Hispanic people are racist too. But we're racist towards our own race. Which is kind of funny. Caucasians are racist towards their own race. You hear it all the time. So are African American, Asians. Racism is something that's been around and we've done it to ourselves. But that's never an excuse for allowing anybody to destroy property and break the law and get away with it. Law and order needs to come back to the United States, and it needs to start in California. That means if you do the crime, you're going to do the time. We have a governor right now that it doesn't matter what you vote on, is what he wants. How many people in this room voted for the death penalty? Quite a bit of them said, yeah, let's keep it. Where's it at? Oh, it's gone because our governor went to the Supreme Court and said it's unjust, it's unfair, so they pulled it off, so there's no more death penalty in the state of California. One that's really personal to me is Conversation 25, the bail bonds. California taxpayers said, no, we want bail bonds, cash bail bonds still going. Supreme Court just ruled it's unconstitutional, and it's not right on certain cases that the judges have the right to OR, release somebody, sign and release them. So we're releasing criminals back into society. Now, the bail bonds system needs to be revamped where it's fair across the board. But the reality is what the California people want, not what a dictator wants. And that's why we have got to continue the recall efforts, and we have got to remind everybody that the recall is going on right now. Just because we're going to open in June 15th doesn't mean that everything you did gone away. What happened during Thanksgiving when you could not have your family? Well, he wanted your neighbor to call police so that they could arrest you. But he could be at a French restaurant, a very nice restaurant, eating with his friends and family, and then he goes, oh, I'm sorry, it was poor judgment. No, sir. The poor judgment was us Californians electing you and letting you be governor of this long. Yeah. That was the poor judgment. Exactly. Accountability. And I can't say that enough. Business owner, immigrant, proud to be an American, and thankful that my mom, my grandmother, my aunt sacrificed everything to get us to this country. Because America has something that no other country has. The freedom and the ability that if you come here, you put your head down, doesn't matter your color, your race, or your culture, you can succeed. The only person in this country that can tell you that you can't do something is yourself. And trust me, there's been plenty of people that told me that I never do anything. There's people that told me to get out of the race, that I don't have a chance in how to win. Well, it's a year and I'm still going. We got a little bit longer to go with everybody, with God's grace. We're going to win this. And we're going to win it because I'm a normal person just like you, and I know every single sacrifice that you guys are doing, I probably lived it. I know what it's like to be homeless. Yeah, I had a job and I was still homeless. I know what it's like to go hungry. I know what it's like not to have enough money to feed your kids. But through all that, you keep going to work, keep having faith, and somehow or another you manage to pull it off. And you're talking to a kid who came from Uruguay, which is almost a third world country. We either have rich or poor. And we were in the lower end of that. And I'm living my American dream right now. I'm a homeowner. I have a successful business. I'm running for governor of California. With everybody's support, we're going to get there. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'll be around if you guys have any questions. Please feel free to ask. It's an open book. Anything you guys need to know. If you guys are online, you guys want to ask any questions, put them in the comments. We're going to get back later on tonight. I'm going to answer every single comment because you guys deserve it. If you take the time to ask a question, you deserve an answer. Thank you again, everybody. Thank you for coming out.